explain how spirituality and science intersect or complement each other?
First of all, it's customary or a habit of the mind in the present scenario that spirituality has nothing to do with science, or
Right.
it's not at all a science.
Correct.
And they are totally perhaps parallel going concepts or philosophies.
Right.
But actually it's not so. If you go backwards into the ancient times, we hear a lot about our rishis or sages. By the way, who are these rishis or sages? In English, loosely we can translate a rishi as a seer, S-E-E-R, seer. Obviously it means one who can see. Then the question arises, we all do see, right? So what is the big deal about calling somebody a seer? In Samskrita, this can be related to the word mantra drishtara. Drishta means seer.
Sight.
Drishtara, seer. Seeing and seer. So, a seer is a master or an adept or an extraordinary person who can see something which others cannot see. So, in the process of seeing for a seer, it has to be something very different which we are clueless. So, a drashtara can see something which we, the ordinary minds or ordinary eyes, cannot see, means it is another dimension of science.
Right.
Now, science is defined as that which can give you evidences, proofs.
Yeah.
So, what kind of proofs we need? The proofs are evidences that can convince our mind, our curiosities, and which can be seen with our eyes, and we can physically touch something. So, science has been limited in its explanation as an experience, something to do with your 5 sensory organs and connected to the mind. So, we call it hypothesis. So, there is lot of guesswork, and then you bring about certain formulae, and then you divide the steps, and then systematically you place them as steps, and then all this you do for what? To come to a conclusion, you call it a scientific truth.
Right.
So, you may use chemicals in chemistry laboratory, in science, physics. You use this whole universe trying to understand the sound vibrations or material objects, so on and so forth. Right?
Yes.
If this is what science is, our spiritual science, in quotes, our spiritual science says your thought process is very, very limited. You are asking for evidences, right? Then you have to stay within the limits of this physical world. Physical world can be dealt with your 5 sensory organs connected to the brain and the mind, and to some extent emotions, thought process, and you call it psychology, which is also a science now.
Right. Yes.
Yeah. So it goes on like this analysis. But when it comes to spirituality, as the word by itself conveys, that spirituality is something to deal with the spirit. So what is the spirit? Now, the word spirit is not at all used in the modern context when we talk about spirituality. Perhaps it is old-fashioned. But if you look at the old texts in Christianity, spirit is the word that is being used.
Right.
And later on, it has undergone a lot of transformations in expressions about spirituality. And today you find a big revolution happening in the field of spirituality, and people have started calling it spiritual science, where the accepted fact is that There is a demarcation between science and spirituality, but somewhere it has to intersect and also become complementary. Otherwise, you are lost because you will not be able to go beyond these five sensory organs at all. So, you are limiting your very existence to this physical world. And to show you what is spirituality, the parameters may be something little different. I am talking about 1 century backwards, where the parameters were not available to measure what spirituality is all about, to say how scientific it is. So, given the scenario, there was a big need, an inner call to connect science with spirituality. Because in our country, the yogic feats, the yogic skills, or I would say yogic siddhis, were accepted as they are without questioning. There was a time people accepted because seeing a yogi, acquainting with a yogi, and living with a yogi used to be something like an ordinary event because it's part and parcel of our lives. But then came a time when yogis were not regarded as men of excellence. Again, lot of things happened in the history, pages of history, that yoga was sidelined, saying it's all superstition, cannot be trusted anymore. So this is a kind of adulteration of thoughts about this truth regarding yoga or the yogic feats or siddhis as unscientific, because a yogi is not able to say why and what of what he demonstrates as his skills are extraordinary powers.
Right.
So in the pages of history you see that there have been several attempts, sincere endeavors to make people understand that yoga is something great, yoga is something supreme, yoga is something very sacred.